Hello friends, this is Ryan Hicks at TaughtToProfit.com. Today I want to talk to you about how to not be weary in well-doing. Galatians 6:7-10 says this, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall reap of the flesh corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap, if we faint not. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith." My friends, many times people will give, and there'll be blessings, and they'll be doing good works, and they get weary. They start thinking, well, it just isn't working. I'm suffering, I'm going through this problem and that problem. And you have to understand something. You continue to sow, but if you went out and sowed seeds, and you planted the seed, and you watered it, and you took care of it, and you kept it, and made sure everything was going right with that plant, but then you stopped, you pulled back, and you didn't continue taking care of that seed, what would happen to that plant? It most likely would die, wither away, or it would have a failed crop. This is why you need to continue to do good. Continue in your well-doing, because in due season you shall reap if you faint not. Don't give up. Don't give in. Don't think, well, it's just not working for me. Maybe it's not working for you because you're not receiving what's available to you. If you were that same farmer planting the seed, watering the plant, taking care of it, making sure everything is going well with it, and then it comes time to harvest and you just stand around and keep watering it and doing, and you don't do anything to harvest, that doesn't mean you don't have a harvest. You just haven't received it. And too many people do not receive. Somebody comes and they offer them something. Oh no, I'm happy to do it for free. And you turn away the blessings that are coming your way. And then after years of doing this, all these blessings have been coming your way. All these reapings you could have had, but you've turned them away. You decided not to reap. The harvest comes and you ignore it. The harvest comes and you shun it. The harvest comes and you push it aside. The harvest comes and you put some false humility. Oh, I don't need that. I wasn't doing this for money. I wasn't doing this for a gift. I wasn't doing, and you keep pushing the blessings of God aside. And then you get tired of doing good. Well, there's nothing good happens to me. I don't understand it. I'm always doing good. Nothing good's coming to me. You are not receiving. That harvest comes and you push it away. And you push people away who God is using to bring a harvest into your life. Sometimes it's just nothing more than devilish pride coming in, where you don't want to receive from someone else because you feel like, well, I shouldn't have to. God should just float money out of heaven to me. I shouldn't have to receive from anyone. Well, Jesus said, "Give and it shall be given unto you." And he said, "Shall men give into your bosom?" Men. He didn't say God would come down out of heaven and give you something. He didn't say he'd send his angels to give you something. He said, "Give and it shall be given unto you." And then he ends that with, "Men shall give into your bosom." Men. Now, my friends, when you are having the rewards of your labor come your way and you're shunning them and you're pushing them aside and you're thinking you're not supposed to take anything, and you're misunderstanding it being more blessed to give than to receive by not receiving, which is obviously not what Jesus is talking about, you then are shutting down the crop. All those seeds you've been sowing, the crop comes, the harvest time comes, it's time to reap, and you have shut it down. Now, whether or not you can recover and get that harvest again from those same things you sowed years and years ago, I don't know. But what I do know is you can start today to continue to water that crop. And when the harvest comes, you can then reap, if you faint not. And I especially like the verse right after telling us to not be weary in well-doing, that says, as we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men. If you have any question in your heart about, well, this person's evil, am I supposed to be do any good unto them? Do good unto all men. Well, this person isn't a Christian, am I supposed to do good? Do good unto all men. Well, this person's an atheist, am I supposed to do good unto them? Do good unto all men. Anyone, you are supposed to do good. Now, it continues and says, especially unto them who are of the household of faith. That's just so you don't ignore Christians. Because the mentality of many people is, well, Christians have God on their side, they don't need me to help them. No, God uses you to give into their bosom many times. You are the instrument, the tool God uses to bless those of the household of faith as well. But in the end, you do good unto all people. You don't say, well, I'm not going to help that person, they're not a Christian. As you have opportunity, do good unto all men. Obviously, you can't do everything unless you have unlimited resources, unlimited time, and these kind of things. But you do what you have opportunity. Do good unto all men. And you will reap a reward. But you can't faint. You can't give up. You can't turn back. You can't just throw your hands up in the air. I don't understand why I'm not reaping. Because I guarantee you that many people who have been doing good for years and don't seem to see the rewards of that goodness coming back, the harvest coming back, have been pushing aside the harvest, or pushing aside people who God was going to use to bring the harvest. So if you want to push aside anything, push aside your stubborn pride that tells you, well, I can't receive, I'm just a giver. You can't give if you don't have anything because you haven't been receiving. What do you have to give then? There's absolutely nothing wrong with receiving. The problem is when that's all you are. You're just a swamp taking in water and nothing going out. And it just becomes dead and lifeless. You need to be a giver. It's more blessed to give. But that's an important point. It's more blessed to give than to receive, because when you give, what happens? You get more back. It's more blessed. You're not more blessed when you're receiving. You get more blessings when you give. But this is if you don't faint. You keep continuing to do good. You continue in your well-doing, and you will reap in due season. And that's an important point. In due season. Sometimes people go out and they do something good and then they're expecting some harvest immediately. Now, your mindset shouldn't even be in the first place that you're doing something to get something back. That should not be the motivation behind the well-doing. But we all understand that good comes from this. You're sowing good seeds, you get a good harvest. But too many people are expecting it instantly. And sometimes there is a season, and it takes time before you reap the harvest. The man planting a seed out in the field, if he watered it one day and dug it up the next day, would not have a harvest because he hasn't allowed the time to pass. He hasn't waited to reap in due season. So don't give up. Don't be weary. Don't say, well, I just don't understand. I've been sowing for years and I'm not reaping. Well, maybe you have been turning away the rewards. You've been turning away the blessings, the harvest from that well-doing. And when God blesses you, when God sends someone in your life, it doesn't have to be someone. This is one of the problems sometimes people have. They think it has to be the holy saint of God bringing a reward into your life. That's the only way God could do it. And yet you read through the Old Testament, Nebuchadnezzar, who was an evil man, God calls him my servant. Because God can use anyone, saint or sinner, to do his good will. So do not think that you cannot receive from someone who is not a Christian, who is not what you deem as good. God can use anyone. So don't turn away the harvest that's coming your way because you don't like the tool, the vessel that's being used to bring it to you. And in the same turn, don't avoid doing well because the person you're going to be doing well too, does not fall in line with what you view as good. The worst sinner deserves mercy and goodness by sheer right, not on anything they've done, but of being a direct creation of God, of being in the image and likeness of God. Sometimes people let personality conflicts and issues with other individuals and their behavior to cloud their judgment in viewing humans as what they really are, which is something, a being in the image and likeness of God, deserving compassion and mercy and goodness. You may say, well, they do this and they do that and that's bad, but they deserve your compassion, your well-doing toward them. You're not the final judge of anything they've done. You need to do well. And when you do well, in due season you will reap if you faint not. But if you're just deciding, well, some people don't deserve my goodness, some people do, who are you to know? And the scripture is very clear. As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men. It's that clear. If you're thinking you can get away with doing good only to Christians and ignoring the plight of people who don't agree with you or don't believe like you, you are dead wrong. And that's just spiritually speaking, yanking up all the crops before harvest time, because you destroy that field of crops you've been planting of good works over the years when you're turning a blind eye toward people just simply because they don't fit in line with what you believe. Because I want you to know too, part of believing right is when you do right to people who don't believe like you, many times they come around when they see that kindness and compassion, and you're not doing it for any reason besides to do good to them. You're not doing it to get them into some church. You're not doing it to get them to believe a certain way. You're just doing it because it's the right thing to do. That can change many people's hearts. Many people's hardened hearts can be softened when they see that and say, wow, this person's just acting out of compassion. They're acting out of love. They're acting out of mercy. There's no hidden agenda here. And that can turn people who wouldn't have believed, who wouldn't have cared what you were saying about Christianity, and turn them to Jesus. But you'll never have that happen when you're turning and closing up your bowels of compassion toward them and only doing good for people who believe exactly like you. So my friends, let me stress again, let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. I pray this has been a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.